Robots are part of our lives. They help build cars, dismantle explosives for the military. They even vacuum the carpet. Thanks, Roomba. And robots have entered the operating room.
So we've got one of our devices, one of our prototypes here, up and functioning.
Shane Ferreter is developing miniature robots for use in surgery.
The robot has a couple of arms and tools
That are manipulated by the surgeon using joysticks and foot pedals.
And then the surgeon uses the console here to control the device. You can.
The technology is moving into the operating room and someday to remote locations.
Potentially a combat location. This is all down the road.
Or space.
Or in space, right.
I'm Mary Jane Bruce, and this is Faculty 101 from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
Okay, you should switch partners now.
To be able to inspire young people.
Here's your finals.
It's really rewarding.
I love the students.
Welcome to Faculty 101, life hacks and success stories from Nebraska faculty. Time for orientation. Who is Shane Ferreter?
I'm a professor in mechanical and materials engineering.
Dr. Ferreter is founder of the startup company Virtual Incision, along with Dmitry Olenikov, a surgeon at the University of Nebraska Medical Center.
This is our office space, and here's our lab.
The robotically assisted surgical device is being used in a procedure that removes part of the colon.
There's about, depending on how you count them, maybe 300,000 cases of colon cancer per year in the U.S. And when you have cancer or other diseases, you have to get a section of your colon removed, and we think we can help enable a minimally invasive approach to colon resection.
The technology will help avoid large incisions and long hospital stays for patients and offers other benefits for surgeons.
You can scale the motion of the surgeon. If the surgeon moves their hands a lot, the robot can be very precise and move a little bit. They can remove tremor and some other things like that. But it's about access. They can give the surgeon more dexterity than they would otherwise have. And one of the big advantages is allowing minimally invasive surgery. So rather than making a large incision big enough the surgeon can get their hands inside the patient, you can make a few small incisions and stick some little robot hands in there and do surgery that way. And making smaller incisions has obvious advantages to the patient.
Next, lab work. We go deeper into Dr. Ferreter's research. One wall of the Virtual Incision office is covered with plaques exhibiting some of the patents awarded for intellectual property based on research.
Yeah, I think we have about 60 patents that have issued and maybe another 60 applications.
Dr. Ferreter's research is supported by the U.S. Army and by NASA with an eye toward developing technology that would allow surgery in remote locations.
So the idea is if you had a small portable device in a remote, dangerous environment, that you could then have the surgeon in another location and perform surgery remotely.
Years of research and effort have gone into Virtual Incision. Founding a medical device company brings complex challenges.
With medical devices, you have to do really a lot of work before you can actually find out if it's what people really need. You know, we try to talk to surgeons as much as we can. We try to understand the procedures and the pathologies that we need to address. We try to get it into as many hands as we can. So it's challenging. It's been tough. It's fun work. I won't lie. I like making robots, and I get to do that every day. So that's wonderful.
Ready for office hours? Dr. Ferreter explains how he got here.
Big dreams in a small town.
I grew up in a very small town.
Ravenna in central Nebraska.
Population is about 1,300, I think, something like that.
And his engineering career took shape in the back of the family hardware store.
You know, we sold nuts and bolts to farmers, and there were always problems to be solved, and there were always creative solutions that were required. And I always talk about how Nebraskans are good at making things and good at solving problems because the rural environment kind of makes that a necessity.
His mom and dad's parenting style?
My wife and I always joke a little bit. They left us alone. was a great thing that they did. They kind of put some rails up, but when you're in a small town, you have a lot of freedom. And you know, I got to play around in the back of that hardware store. You know, my parents might roll their eyes or something, but they'd let me build whatever wacky little product or device I wanted to make. I just talking to someone the other day about a fan car I made, a little car that has, I guess you'd call it a mobile robot these days, but you turn your fan on left to right with these little motors and you can drive it around. You know, which I think is a great way to learn and explore, but my parents were good enough to let me do those kinds of things.
Now it's time for a pop quiz. Random questions, life hacks, and wisdom for all of us. What's a research question you'd still like to answer?
We're diving hard into this. You know, can small robots be effective? You know, you think about there's millions, I believe, surgeries that are done with an open incision, again, where surgeons put their hand in there. You know, you could consider that Stone Age-like, right? That we should use robots to help with all those surgeries, and I think there's long ways to go there.
What's the number one thing you can do to raise a child who's a creative thinker?
There's a book I read called Grit that I really like. It's a psychologist is the author from Stanford University, and she puts forth the idea that you have to encourage kids to put forth effort. That what you need to praise is not, hey, I'm really proud of you, you got an A on that test. It's, I really like the way you studied hard and you worked hard at this. And if you become a person who you know, is willing to work through problems and is hungry for problems, if you tell a kid they're smart all the time, pretty soon they'll start avoiding hard things, because after all, I'm the smart one. If I go in there and I fail, then that goes against my definition of myself. So you have to teach kids to be, you know, doers and triers.
Do you have a habit that makes you happier or more productive?
I'm a woodworker. So when I go home at night, I often go down to the shop for an hour, and that seems to be good for my blood pressure.
What's your favorite life hack for students?
The things you need to be successful in college are all within your control. It doesn't matter how smart you are, and it doesn't, you know, you can't guarantee you're going to get an A or a C on the test, but there are things that are totally in your control that will make you successful. The first one is go to class. You know, if you're hemorrhaging blood or you were struck by a car or something, then maybe you have an excuse not to go to class. But other than that, I stayed up too late last night, it's really early, it's cold outside, those aren't reasons to skip class. There's no reason you can't go to class, go to class. You think you can skip class, don't skip class, go to class. That's the first one. The second one is start the homework the day it's assigned. You get assigned homework on Monday, you need to go home Monday night and do that homework. The third one is you should use office hours of professors. You should go in and talk to them about questions that you have.
Do you have a life hack for success, so to speak, for the general public?
You need to develop this growth mentality. You need to have some grit. Again, these are, like I was describing earlier with kids, I think the same thing works for adults. You need to engage problems, not knowing what the answer will be. And I think perseverance is really the only thing that truly correlates with success, maybe luck too. But it's usually not smarts, and it's usually not looks, and it's usually not some of the things that most people assign to these things.
And finally, homework. Here's what you can do to exercise your creativity muscle. Dr. Ferreter is an advisor for Nebraska Innovation Studio. It's a makerspace where you can find sewing machines, 3D printers, laser cutters, all the tools for bringing your idea to life.
And I think there's really a lot of satisfaction in building things, that you get a lot of important feedback from, you know, trying and failing, and it didn't work, and I did it this time, and then I pushed through the problem, and here it is. I made something that's nice and useful. That's a stamp. That's a stake in the ground. You've made something now.
That's it for Faculty 101, and thanks to Shane Ferreter for sharing his wisdom. In the show notes, we link to more information about Virtual Incision, Nebraska Innovation Studio, and to the book Grit that Dr. Ferreter recommended. Next time on the podcast, it's the pride of all Nebraska. We go behind the scenes with the faculty who lead the Cornhusker Marching Band. Oh, and don't forget,
You think you can skip class? Don't skip class. Go to class.
Faculty 101 is produced by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.